It's been almost a decade since Chevrolet, once one of South Africa's most loved brands, returned to the country. And in that time, they've expanded their range to include just about everything from entry-level hatchbacks to V8 sedans, 4x4s and SUVs. And now, this, the car that the company is calling their toughest large SUV ever. This is the Trailblazer. It's bigger and more expensive than that other Chev SUV, the Captiva, and the range also offers a full 4x4 model. This is one of those rare test cars that isn't near the top of the pecking order. We've got the 2.8 diesel LTZ front-wheel drive automatic. The big American, which is made in Thailand by the way, relies on its sheer size to make its first impression. But once you start looking for the details, you realize that there aren't that many. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, it's just not super stylish like the Koreans or ultra sophisticated like the Germans. It relies on simple, straightforward design that works. The rear doesn't present anything out of the ordinary either, just LED lights and an upward opening tailgate. It's not going to offend many people, this thing, although for me it's just a little too generic looking. If it wasn't for the bow tie on the front, you'd be able to say that the Trailblazer could be the work of any number of manufacturers. Engine options include one petrol and two diesels, of which this is the bigger 2.8, with 132 kilowatts and 470 newton meters, and a combined cycle fuel consumption figure of 10 liters per 100. The Trailblazer is offered as a full 4x4, but since our test car is rear-wheel drive only, it's going to be blazing the more everyday trail. We did have a 4x4 version as part of our lineup of cars for last year's RPM adventure, and we were impressed with how well it managed some pretty tough roads. The only things even remotely offering off-road assistance to the rear-wheel drive models are hill descent control and hill start control. So, not very much then. That lack of off-road tech means this car is primarily designed for those urbanites who like the raised ride height and extra sense of security of a big car. But despite its imposing size, it is quite manageable, thanks in part to things like the standard rear park distance control. The instant impression is that this car has got a firm ride setup, but it's something you quickly get used to and start to appreciate. Extra reassurance and safety comes from the limited slip diff, traction control, stability control, and for those who have more stuff than the Trailblazer can accommodate in its boot, the LTZ model has trailer sway assist. It's the diesel engine and gearbox in here that impress more than anything though. It's not quiet and it's not refined, but it's also not that bad. It manages this car's weight exceptionally well and it never feels like it's struggling. A lot of that is down to the 6-speed automatic gearbox, which does some quick thinking and makes sure there's always power on tap. The drive in the Trailblazer is as simple as the looks suggest. Feels good around town and doesn't mind the highway either. It is a very well sorted package, delivering the kind of ease of use that 4x2 drivers will appreciate on an everyday basis, even if they fill all the remaining 6 seats with passengers. Space isn't a problem in here, neither is comfort. You get Bluetooth, cruise control, climate control, electric seats, all as part of the package. Unfortunately, you also get some pretty hard plastics, which for 430,000 Rand aren't quite as upmarket as they should be. Some of the materials feel like they've been borrowed from the Trailblazer's cheap cousin, the Spark. It's a pity because if they'd plugged that gap, Chev would have an almost unfaultable SUV here. And there's the colour, which we're now getting bored of saying isn't the most practical. This car may not be used for venturing far at all, but our test car has almost certainly spent its entire life in the city, and it's showing serious stains with just 10,000 kilometers on the clock. The third row of seats folds away very practically, so you have a flat load floor if needed. Once they're up though, there is that never-ending lots of passenger, not so much boot space conundrum to tend with. The Chev Trailblazer is a decent package. It doesn't have styling that blows you away or an interior spec that makes you feel like royalty, but it is a comfortable ride. It's got an impressive diesel motor and a usable space. It's also cheaper than a Kia Sorento. It's better looking than a Ford Everest, and it is one of the best cars in its class.
The 2.8-litre diesel isn't the most refined motor on the market, but it does a very good job of making the Trailblazer a good everyday drive. Overall, the big Chev is a decent package, offering good spec. It's just some of the interior materials that don't quite match its 400,000 Rand plus asking price.